And now presenting the state of the district, Superintendent Dr. Mauro Tijerina.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Good morning, President Mr. Arias, Vice President Mr. Rodriguez.
Good morning,
board
sir.
members, Mr. Perez and Mr. Spitzer.
Good morning,
So I'll be
sir.
presenting the 2024-2025 fall semester plan of action. And this initiative talks briefly about the data that was provided to us by the Texas Education Agency this past summer, and our plan of action with regards to our state of the district. So really quick, our 2024-2025 demographics for the District of Mercedes Independent School District. So we are a K-12 district. Our total students projected for this upcoming 2024-2025 are 4,455 students. The number or the percentage of low SES students is 93.5. Our at-risk is 75.7. Our emerging bilingual is 30.4. I do want to point out that our campus at the north side, Harold Middle School, has an average of 38.7 emerging bilinguals. Our immigrant population for the district is 1.3. Again, our campus to the north, Harold, has roughly about 3.7 percentage of immigrant students. Our special ed population at the district is 10%. RTI is 74.23. 504 is 7.1. Our dyslexia is 6.96%. GT students at the district level is 11.6, and our migrant is 1.55. So it gives us an accurate view of our district and the sub-pops and pops that we service. Our 2024-2025 preliminary academic status. So our overall rating is a D. So we have our work cut out. We need to make sure that our plan of action is intentional and done with fidelity, because as you can see from our accountability, our student achievement, domain 1 was an F as a district. For the school progress, that's a C, and for closing the gaps, it's a C, which gives us an overall D rating. Now, when we looked at the data that was provided to us by the Texas Education Agency, we found that there were significant gaps in our students' academic needs. So we felt specifically that we needed to address two major areas. Amongst those, math and reading, because in comparison to the state, we were below significantly. So as you can see from the data, these are scale scores comparing the district of Mercedes with that of the state. Now, I went ahead and disaggregated the data from 3rd to 9th, so we can get a better view of how we're doing as a district. So 3rd grade, our 3rd grade math scores were 1,367. These are scale scores again. In comparison to those of the state, 1,451. We are below, way below the state level. Now when it comes to reading 3rd grade, our district was at 1,276 scale score in comparison to 1,461 of the state. 4th grade, 1,510 scale score in comparison to 1,556 state. For reading, 1,492 for the 4th grade level in comparison to that of the state of 1,554. Again, below the state. And we have 5th grade math, which is 1,583 in comparison to 1,639 at the state level. For reading, grade, we had 1,545 to 1,606 at the state level. So we have found a pattern where we continue to score below the state level. Now we move on to the middle school level. Sixth grade math, 1,623 to 1,760 at the state level. In reading, 1,566 to 1,668 at the state level. Again, under the state. Seventh grade, math is 1,691 to 1,754 at the state. And reading, 1,566 scale score to 1,668. Now we move on to eighth grade. Math is 1,510 to 1,849. That was a significant gap there in comparison to the state. And in reading, 1,608 to 1,760. Move on to math at the ninth grade, specifically Algebra 1, 1,583 to 1,639 at the state. And in reading is 1,545 to 1,606 at the state. So we can see from the data provided by the Texas Education Agency, we have significant gaps that we have to cover as a district. Now, in working in partnership with our Region Service Center and external consultants, we found that a significant portion of this is an outcome of our unaligned curriculum with the state standards, specifically math and RLA. We're fortunate enough to work with the Region Service Center who came and did a district needs assessment and helped us identify the action steps that needed to be taken to make sure that our district was aligned and that so that we could improve our academic data, build our teachers' capacity, but build the teachers' capacity with curriculums that will help our students succeed on those state assessments and as a whole. So specifically for ELAR, targeted intervention. So what we decided to do is work in concert with our directors of secondary and directors of elementary to adapt a curriculum that would align with our state standards. So for ELAR, we adapted the Amplify from 6 to 12, and also adopted the Amplify at the elementary level. We want to make sure that we align our curriculum. We want to make sure that students picked up the skills they needed at the elementary level and continue utilizing those skills at the secondary level. We are also partnering with our service center, and we are rolling out the Texas Instructional Leadership specifically to address the management and rigor. So something that we noticed at our district is that a significant number of our teachers are young teachers, so we want to make sure that we build their capacity both in the management and in the rigor to make sure that our teachers have the capacity to address the many gaps our students have. We will specifically be adopting the aggressive monitoring initiative, which is a derivative of the Texas Instructional Leadership Management approach. The rigor approach, and we want it to be like the MISD way. When people come to our district, teachers come to our district, this is the way that we do rigor. This is how we check understanding through the aggressive monitoring. We'll also be putting forward weekly assessments that will let us know if our students are mastering their objectives, mastering those teachings that are being delivered by their teachers. We'll have both student trackers on our data walls, and any student per class or any teacher that has 13 failures or more will require an action plan. What type of interventions, who will be recommended for RAISE, who will be recommended for regular tutoring. We'll make sure that we contact on parents. So this one, we have to capitalize on this one because the research tells us that one of the most important assets we can have is the parental aspect. We need to make sure that we start bridging those gaps in communication with our parents and making sure that our parents know what is it required so they can help us get these students to the next level. We'll have one-on-one conferencing, and these conferences will be taking place by the teacher by the Dean of Instruction and by the principal with these students who are not making progress. It is imperative that we identify why this is not happening, what are the needs, so that we can make sure that we more intensely address those needs. And we'll also be incorporating something new at MISD, which will be the teacher tracker data wall. It's imperative that we build our teachers' capacity, and our teachers need to understand if they're growing. So we'll be having those teacher trackers and data walls, so we can make sure that we build better teachers, more equipped teachers to be able to address the gaps that students have. Similar to the RLA, we'll also have a mathematics targeted intervention. Now we're blessed to also work with the service center, and we found that we needed to align our math curriculum. Now we had a curriculum that was 100% aligned to the state standards. However, it was not vertically aligned to our elementaries. So we felt that we needed to adopt something, and when we approached this issue, we employed principals, Dean of Instructions, department heads, and the directors for both elementary and secondary to look for a curriculum that would address and intentionally address the needs of our students. And in doing so, we were able to identify and adopt Carnegie Learning. Carnegie Learning is 6 through 12, and Eureka Math is the elementary. These two curriculums work hand in hand, and we want to make sure that we build that vertical alignment so our students could continue using those skills that they learned in the elementary and build upon those whenever they in the secondary schools. We'll also be moving forward with the Texas Instructional Leadership, the management and the rigor approach. As mentioned, we'll be identifying a unique way of checking for rigor, and that will be through the aggressive monitoring, which will be the Mercedes Independent School District manner of assessing student understanding. We'll continue with our weekly assessments to make sure that whatever the teachers are delivering is being intentional, and we are succeeding in making sure that our students are understanding and mastering those skills that they need for their end of course, for their STAR, or whatever assessment that they take. Also, we'll continue, as mentioned earlier, with the student trackers, data walls. 13 failures or more will be referred, will require an action plan by the teacher, will need intervention, which will be also recommended by the teacher, age recommendations, regular tutoring, making sure that we make those parental contacts, and the conferencing one-on-one by the teacher, by the Dean of Instruction, and by the principals. It's imperative that our leadership team understand what is their responsibility in making sure that all students, we need to know our students. Regardless of the number of students that we have in school, we have to know our students. And what better way to address those needs than to conference with those students that need that need those attention in those specific gaps. We'll also continue with the teacher trackers. How are teachers doing, and what is it that we need to do? And the intention behind teacher trackers is not to evaluate the teacher, but rather to develop the teacher. What is it that the leaders within the campuses are doing at the district level to build the teachers, mentor the teachers, develop the teachers, coach the teachers? So we're changing this. We need to make sure that our leadership teams understand that we need to be hitting the classroom 75% of the time. So that's what we're doing. We're moving forward with this year. As a district at Mercedes ISD, we're planning curriculum alignment through Carnegie Learning and Amplify. We need to make sure that our teachers understand how to internalize the lesson. How do we revamp POC? What are the duties and responsibilities of our teachers when in POC? What are we doing to afford teachers opportunities for learning walks and learn from each other? What are we doing to provide teacher enrichment strategies? And the beauty about adopting Carnegie and Amplify is that Carnegie and Amplify come with those strategies to make sure that we build on those and build the teacher's capacity. What are we doing to help our teachers through the observation and feedback? And then these, we want to make sure that we address, again, the aggressive monitoring, teacher radar, whole class reset, voice register, exit tickets, setting the expectation for our teachers. We need to make sure that we're doing data-driven instruction, because our teachers need to understand that if the data did not produce the intended target, it is not something to feel bad about, but it's a learning opportunity. What did not happen, and how can we effectively address it through the reteach component by the the Texas Instructional Leadership, which in this case includes the reteach component both by the guided discourse or module. Now, these approaches, it's all dependent on the student mastery. If 68 or more of the students fail to master the specific team, they will move forward with a modeling approach. If the percentage is below that, then we can move on with a guided discourse, which is a little bit more independent. But again, that goes back to building the teacher's capacity and making sure that they effectively reteach whatever was not mastered. Now, on the observation and feedback, most often when leaders walk into a teacher's classroom, the belief is that it's an opportunity for principals, deans of instruction, assistant principals to find something wrong that the teacher's not doing. And we have brought that upon ourselves because it's rare that we walk into the classroom. It's imperative that we make it a tradition, a culture where it is okay, where teachers feel comfortable when their leaders walk into their classroom. We're making sure that we are doing the observation and feedback with more fidelity. Observation is done, feedback is provided no more than 3 days later. It's imperative that the feedback is provided and the teachers brought in to be coached, developed, and be intentional. And we're using the Texas Instructional Leadership approach to do so. Now, from this point forward, all campuses will have their leadership meetings. Leadership meetings will be on Mondays at 8:30. The leadership team will meet on Mondays at 8:30. It will be no more than an hour. And on that same day, at 4:15, department heads will meet. 4:15 to 5:15. Again, it is imperative that the key stakeholders be involved in the initiative. Therefore, we buy mutual engagement and shared diagnosis. It takes everybody to identify what are the gaps to move this district in the right direction. And what better than involving our key stakeholders at the council level. Now, walkthroughs, we're requiring 2 per day per administrator, 10 weekly. Principal is expected to do 10 walkthroughs per week, and those walkthroughs have to provide feedback to our teachers. Assistant principals, 10 walkthroughs, and the dean of instruction will be expected to do 15 walkthroughs. And why? Because the new initiative moving forward is that the dean needs to be 95% of the time in the classroom. His or her responsibility is to make sure that they build the teachers, coach the teachers, and 95% of the time has to be in the classroom. That's the reason why we're going with 15 observations. Our ACE coordinator will also be expected to do 15 observations. Their responsibility is instruction. We make sure that they understand and know this, because the only way to move the district in the right direction is to be targeting curriculum, targeting the classrooms, helping our teachers. As mentioned before, our curriculum for the first time will be 100% aligned both in the reading and in the math. The reason why we're targeting these or giving priority to these is because of what the data showed. Not only is reading and math in our domain 1, but also our domain 2. So we make sure that we are being very intentional in building our students and helping our students by providing and teaching with a curriculum that is 100% aligned and is vertically and horizontally aligned. We make sure that we teach our teachers how to unpack the TEKS. I mentioned earlier, how to internalize the lesson. What is it that they're going to be teaching, and how are they going to be doing so? POCs, they have to be very structured, and we're going to charge our department heads and build a capacity so they can run a POC effectively and know what we expect from the POC. And amongst those, opportunities for learning walks, teachers learning from each other, giving themselves feedback. Therefore, the feedback is not always coming from the principal, assistant principal, or dean of instruction. As mentioned, we want to make sure that we have a Mercedes independent way of checking for understanding, and we're rolling out and running with the aggressive monitoring. We're also building our teachers, because of the fact that a significant number of our teachers are young teachers. We want to make sure that we build their management approach through strategies such as a teacher radar, whole class reset, voice register, and build their rigor through exit tickets. Teachers need to understand what is expected of them, but we need to help them get there, through coaching them, develop them, mentoring them. We need to be a data-driven. Data tells a story, but most often we see the story, but we're not addressing what the story is telling us. To make sure that we build capacity within our leaders to be able to take that data and turn it around with effective action plans. And then an example is through the reteach. If the data is letting us know that 68% of our students did not master, then let's move on with the modeling. And the beauty about the Texas Instructional Leadership is that it's very intentional in identifying the gaps. But we have to build our teachers' capacity to be able to identify and know if the gap is a procedural gap or a conceptual gap. And that's what we're running with through the Texas Instructional Leadership. Building those capacities and building our leaders so that the teachers have any questions, they have somebody on campus to address those needs. As mentioned earlier, we need to do better in our parental involvement. So what we decided to do is, moving forward, all report cards will have to be picked up by the parents. We'll create every 6 weeks, we'll designate a date for parents to pick up the report cards, because it gives us an opportunity to build and make that connection, that more face-to-face connection, and talk about the needs of our students. We often look as leaders, what is the formula to effectively address academic needs, to create a campus that's successful, district that's successful? And we most often skip one of the most important elements, which are our parents. We need to do better as a district to afford our parents those opportunities. They feel comfortable coming to school, and what else that's starting with this initiative of the report card pickup. So the disbursement of campus report cards will be face-to-face. Parents will come and pick up a report card. Now, it does not mean that if parents can't come, they won't pick up the report card. We will mail it to them. We'll mail out a copy, and we'll also send a copy with the students after the date of the report card pickup. We do make sure that we do better with regards to our meeting with parents, specifically because it's not only a need at the district, but it's also something we must do for compliance, specifically for the Title I meetings. They need to be more intentional. But more importantly, and I'm excited about this one, is in speaking with our various sponsors, specifically in this case with our band director and our cheer sponsor. We often have repertoire events at the campus level. We need to make sure that we make it possible for the parents to be present for those specific events. And in specific, I know that we always have a fall and a spring concert for band. That's a perfect opportunity for our campus leaders to provide an update to our parents. Let them know who we are at MISD. And it takes no more than 15 minutes for them to be able to let our community know what is our vision. Build effective graduates. Prepare our students for both the public and the private sectors. Mission, afford equity to everybody. And how do we get there is by building capacity with our teachers so that they can understand how to differentiate and address the gaps of the repertoire students they have in their classroom. And what is the parent role? So I believe that in doing so, we'll be able to take this campus and the district to where it needs to be. Second to no other district. Now, success is not accidental. We need to be intentional, we need to prepare for it, we need to plan for it, and eventually we're going to get there. And I'm positive with the various changes that we have made as a district, in partnership with our directors of elementary, secondary, federal programs, safety, we're going to move the district to where it needs to be. Second to no other district, and we owe it to our community. Our attendance goal for the district will be at 94% or above. But how can we get here? So in the attendance committee at the district level, we have a repertoire of individuals amongst those. our superintendent, assistant superintendent, director of student services, head truancy officer, bilingual director, parental outreach, and media director. It's imperative that our community know what the district is doing. Some of the interventions we're moving forward is parent contact by our campuses, home visits, and this is we want to involve our parents more. And how do we do so? They have to know who's teaching their students. So we want to make sure that we give our teachers an opportunity to make those home visits with their campus principals and assistant principals. We need to make sure that the teachers make those contacts with students who have been absent in their classrooms. We need to have grade level meetings as to what are we doing about these interventions to make sure that our students are coming to school, and what type of incentives do we have as a district and as a campus for students meeting the 94% attendance or above. Now, we have given the green light for our campuses to have weekly incentives for highest achieving grade levels, dances at the end of the 6 weeks, celebrating students who met their academic marks or met the goal of attendance, 94% or above. Systems, I know that the school, Northside Herald, has this system with regards to Bengo dollars. They give out Bengo dollars depending on when students are present at the end of the week. Provide snow cones, root beer. So we need to make sure that we're doing and creating a culture where students feel invited, feel appreciated, feel loved, so they can come to school, because we cannot reach our academic goals if we're not having our students present in the school. And we look at the district, and we didn't meet the 94% or above. We're actually at 91% of the district. So we're neglecting 9% off the top is not being serviced academically. So we need to do better about that. College and career readiness on this one, specifically for our middle schools, we need to make sure that we afford students opportunities to start their career path at the middle school level. So we're moving forward with the principles of law, principles of AB, touch systems, English 1, Algebra 1, biology, have a college and career fair. Our students need to know what type of careers are out there. And what better than bringing those careers to the campuses. And we need to build our admin and counselors' accountability capacity. And you need to understand what are the needs, what do they need to do to be able to help our students. Our special ed and bilingual or emerging bilingual students. We are now providing pathways to service SPED students. Every teacher, every SPED teacher is allocated a pathway. And their job is to make sure that we guide the students and hold the students accountable in making sure that they're mastering their core classes. We want to make sure that 100% of our ELA department or RLA department is 100% ESL certified. We have a significant population of emerging bilinguals in the district, so we need to make sure that our teachers are capacitated to be able to service those populations. We have put forward interventions such as ACE, recommendations, tutoring, small group instruction, one-on-one instruction, learning resource center, and in-class differentiation. And all of this will be able to be reached because now we have a curriculum that's 100% aligned, and we're working with the service center in building our leaders and our teachers' capacity when it comes to the management and rigor aspect of it. Lastly, with regards to our ACE program, our ACE coordinator will be planning with the teachers during POCs. There will be a new initiative rolled out this upcoming school year. And we'll be providing tutoring for all core subjects. We're also mandating that every campus have clubs and enrichment opportunities for our students. looks very promising. We are excited about this upcoming school year. I know that with everybody working together, we're gonna place this district second to no other district. We owe it to the community, we owe it to our students. Thank you. Board members, do you all have any questions?
How is the effectiveness of new curriculum and initiatives evaluated?
Evaluated?
Yes, of new curriculums. I know you mentioned like Carnegie, and how would you evaluate the effectiveness of those programs?
So what we're doing this year, this school year, is that, so the question was, how are we evaluating the effectiveness of the adapted curriculum such as Carnegie and Amplify?
Yeah.
So we're doing this year is, first we had the opportunity, and we're blessed that we had an opportunity to send our teachers and leaders to both trainings this summer. As a matter of fact, our math teachers at the district level just came back from a conference, specifically Carnegie Learning Conference, where they're able to get to know what is Carnegie, how is it going to help our students build capacity, know the ins and outs, navigate the curriculum. But to answer your question, Mr. Perez, we're having ongoing weekly assessments. Now, the curriculum, the beauty about these adoptions is that they provide the curriculum for our teachers. On a day-to-day, provided to our teachers, what are they expected to teach Monday through Friday? So, at the district level, we have weekly assessments. Those assessments will let us know a lot of information amongst those: student mastery and content delivery. So, for example, we're not meeting the expected targets. It's not opportunities for us to work, but it's an opportunity for us to address effectively the needs. And it goes hand in hand with the Texas Instruction Leadership. If we're seeing no mastery, the job of a principal, assistant principal, dean of instruction is to go and make those observations, because most often it's imperative we understand what is the gap. Is it a conceptual gap or is it a procedural gap? And we will know that by the exit tickets. You notice we are adopting before that. It's mandated we have those exit tickets, because those exit tickets will let us know if the gap within our students is being conceptual. And guess what? Now that we know the type of gap that we have, we can effectively address those. And by addressing those, we're addressing now also the success of these curriculums. What do we
Our bilingual percentages are 30.4%, and at Sargent Harrell Middle School, it's 38.7%. What type of bilingual programs do we have in the district, and what is the research?
So right now, looking at the curriculums for the emerging bilinguals, I'm gonna be very honest, it hasn't been effectively addressed. So we have a curriculum that's in compliance, it's 100% light. But it goes back to the adopted curriculum for both math and RLA. We can have a curriculum that's 100% aligned, but it wouldn't have the capacity within our leaders and our teachers to effectively address and teach the curriculum. We're not going to get the results that we're looking for. And in this case, addressing. Now, with regards to Harrell Middle School, we need to make sure that we have a teacher that has the capacity to be able to internalize the curriculum and internalize the lesson, therefore he or she is able to deliver an effective lesson. And right now that's the gap. The gap is that now we have curriculum. Now we have curriculums that are 100% aligned. It's going to be down to building the teacher's capacity, delivering effective instruction, and addressing the needs. And I think that's where we're at right now. But I can tell you, a year ago, we did not have curriculums. And in working with the service center, specifically our curriculums, for example, for RLA, which goes hand in hand with our emerging bilinguals in their ESL classes, was 0.06 aligned. So we want to we're questioning for better results, yet we don't even have curriculums. that are effectively aligned to the needs of our students. So we need to get more buy-in from our leaders, a lot of buy-in from our leaders. We need to get buy-in from our teachers. And how do we get buy-in from our teachers? To build their capacity. Our job as leaders is to empathize. Most often it's not the teachers. I have yet to meet a teacher who has said, I want our students to fail. No, it's about building their capacity. And when they don't have that capacity, our job as leaders is to empathize. And it's not that they don't want to teach, is that it's uncomfortable teaching something that you're not fully versed at. So our job is to provide that ongoing training. And something that I have felt in doing a holistic approach with regards to professional development is that we have kind of this culture where we bring you in one day, most often in August, hand you down the curriculum and expect you to know it. Now we need to provide, and one of the MOUs that we did with both Carnegie and Amplify is to provide ongoing support for our teachers. And amongst those, we have secured spots for the upcoming conference in December and in the summer for teachers to be able to build capacity. Mind you, that's not considering the ongoing support throughout the school year. I think that's the key, providing ongoing support, because we expect to roll it out, expect to give out a day of training, and expect the teachers to know it, and it's not how it works. And we have seen the data does not lie.
I know that research shows that when kids learn in their first language, research shows that they are more successful. My question is, at the elementary levels, do we have a 90-10, 50-50? What is our district's bilingual program approach?
That's one of the questions. That's a very thank you. So at the district level, we haven't effectively addressed the bilingual. We haven't. So something that we're moving forward this year, and it's something that we're piloting at the middle school level, specifically with our social studies classrooms. It's something you just nailed it, Mr. Rodriguez, and it's with regards to how do we get them to master the content. Specifically working with Harold Middle School, they have a significant number of emerging bilinguals in comparison to their sister school or to the other schools, even the elementaries. Something we're moving forward is the new approach in the rigor aspect with regards to social studies. Teacher must understand what is that curriculum, what are the students being assessed, and when we look at the data, for some reason, social studies is the least performing class and star in comparison with RLA, math, science, algebra 1. And the approach that we're taking is teaching in their native language. Personally, as an emerging bilingual myself, yes, I learned first in Spanish. In my case, I'm from Mexico, in Spanish. I was able to master learning because I was when I'm expected to master it only in English, it doesn't work that way. Our brains don't work like they do with a monolingual student. We process our information in our native language, and it's no better than to have them summarize, paraphrase content information in their native language, and then paraphrase it or summarize it in English. But it goes back to building capacity. Now we are working to secure a consultant that will build our leaders, in this case our principals' capacity, to be able to build our teachers' capacity, to be able to address our emerging bilinguals. Because right now, you look at our table report at the district level, and one of the populations that haven't been successful are the emerging bilingual population.
There were several, years ago, there were several districts that did implement a 90-10 program, 50-50 programs. One of them, Run Elementary in Donna. Lincoln, I believe, is the middle school at PSJA, where they did implement, and they did approach them and with fidelity. And I haven't brushed up on my research lately, but they did have much success. In Mercedes, about 20 years ago, we did have a bilingual, we received much money, bilingual grant from when Clinton was in when Clinton was in with that administration, we did receive a lot of money with Project Alegría and with the dual language program. What the research did show was that principals and other principals did not implement the program properly. Therefore, the research wasn't true, as the teachers didn't.
And it's good that you mentioned that. It goes back to, again, we have now as a district, we have curriculums aligned. At all grade levels, they're aligned to what they're expected to be able to by the end of the school year. But if we don't have leader buy-in, it's not going to get us nowhere. And we're not going to get leader buy-in if we don't build their capacity. You don't get the buy-in because they don't know what they have to assess. And as their leader for the district, it's my job to build their capacity. Now, when we run with initiatives, it's non-negotiable. We have to implement with fidelity. But when you get buy-in, is by involving them, and that's what we did this year, that we hadn't done in previous years, or that the district had not done in previous years, which was to involve our key stakeholders. When we adopted Carnegie, or prior to adopting Carnegie Amplified, we involved the director of secondary, director of elementary, principals, deans of instructions, and a couple of teachers. Why? Because these are the people in the trenches. So now we're adopting, or we're identifying a gap, which was a non-aligned students not mastering academically both at the math and the grade level. That's the assessment that we did holistically by everybody. Everybody mutually and shared, identified a solution, which was going forward with recommending Carnegie and Amplify. What the research says that when you involve mutual engagement and shared diagnosis, the buy-in increases because you gave them a word at the table, because it was a mutual and shared diagnosis. So that's a different approach that we involved this school year to make sure that everybody had a voice at the table. Now we got to make sure that we build their capacity through the ongoing trainings, because that's how we're going to make it more comfortable in rolling this out. And that's how we're going to have people on campus, every campus, to address the various needs of our teachers, various questions they might have. They have somebody, either dean or their principal. Lastly, it's a non-negotiable. The district decided to go and invest these funds in these curriculums because the experts within the district recommended that they were moving forward. Everybody's moving forward with these initiatives. But going back, yes, it's a must. Initiatives are not going to be successful. We don't have the leaders buy-in, the key stakeholders buy-in. We get everybody on board. Anybody else? Thank you all. Thank you all. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you.